Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're having a wonderful week like always. Today I am continuing with my Björk discography journey, and we made it to her sixth studio album from 2007 called Volta. Now, when it comes to the title of the album itself, Björk herself said, "I'm always looking for words that have some sort of energy. Usually the name just comes from a magazine or somebody says something. I have waited for years while working on this album, but it didn't come." In the lyrics, there are words like voltage and voodoo, which I found to be too common somehow. I have always tried to choose titles which are kind of Latin or something, which aren't English, which is a little funny because we Europeans find Latin to be sort of a neutral language. But I found Volta. I don't recall how it came about, but I googled it and found that it is both the name of a scientist in Italy who invented the battery, okay, and also a river in Africa, which had been built by men, and a lagoon built by men called Lake Volta. Now, I am looking at the track list, and there are 11 tracks on the album, and the album itself is 54 minutes. I don't recall hearing any of these songs before, but like always, if I start listening to a song and it sounds familiar, I'll let you guys know. So you know what? I don't really have anything else to say right now, so let's just jump into track number 1, Earth Intruders. Okay, that was track number 1, Earth Intruders, and I mean, it's Björk, and each album she puts out is always going to have its own sound, and it's always going to be unique, and this was no different. I actually really liked it. I really enjoyed the production on this track. It's not something you hear ever in music. And to me, it was fascinating. You hear these people trudging through the mud. So I don't know if they're supposed to be soldiers, perhaps. I don't know if this is supposed to take place during some sort of war. We are the earth intruders, muddy with twigs and branches, turmoil, carnage. Here comes the earth intruders. We are the paratroopers, stampede of sharpshooters, come straight from voodoo with our feet thumping. This song is very organic sounding. It's very, what's the word? I don't know, earthy, I guess. You hear all these sounds of nature, and it's very interesting. I also like the end where there was this prolonged moment of what felt like being beside, I don't know, a port where there were steamboats. It's almost like there were multiple steamboats and they were almost talking to each other through the sounds they were making. And you could hear the waves of the water and the seagulls. And I just closed my eyes and I could just kind of project myself there. And it was actually very beautiful. There was also something quite tribal about the song. We are the cannoneers, necessary voodoo, and the beast with many heads, and the arms rolling, steam roller. We are the earth intruders. I don't know, like I said already, I feel like the song is about, I don't know, war or how people are intruding on the sacredcy of Earth and nature and the planet. I'm very curious to find out what the actual meaning of this song is. Now, it was released as the first single off the album. Björk said that the song was based on a dream during a cross-Atlantic flight to New York, where a tsunami of millions and millions of poverty-stricken people swelled high above the airplane she was a passenger on. Eventually, the wave overtook the plane, hit land, and raised the White House into oblivion. It's a quite chaotic song, she said of Volta's first single. Lyrically, it's a collection of all these images burned into her memory from her trip to Indonesia, as well as her vivid in-flight reverie. So I just discovered the true meaning of the song, but for someone like myself, I feel like this song is open to interpretation, just like a lot of other Björk songs. So I kind of formed my own story as to what was happening in the song based on the lyrics and the sounds. I just love music and songs that incorporates the sound of nature, whether it just be the sound of slushing mud or twigs snapping or seagulls or waves, whatever it is. I just love it when I hear those sounds in music. So now we're gonna move on to track number 2, Wonderlust. Okay, that was track number 2, Wonderlust, and this was another song I enjoyed. I didn't like it as much as track number 1, Earth Intruders, but what stood out for me was, once again, the production, and once again, we hear the sounds of the ocean and the waves, and also the sounds of Morse code. And this also includes track number 1, Earth Intruders, how there's a sense of, like Björk herself said, there's a sense of chaos and peril with the ocean and how she envisioned track number 1, Earth Intruders, when she was writing it. There's something about, I don't know, like being lost at sea or just needing help, peril, chaos, the ocean. She also says lust for comfort suffocates the soul. Relentless restlessness liberates me, sets me free. I feel at home whenever the unknown surrounds me. I receive its embrace aboard my floating house. So she says she feels at home whenever the unknown surrounds her. So when I think of the unknown that surrounds her and also the sounds of the ocean, the waves, I'm thinking of her on an island somewhere or just floating in the middle of an ocean alone by herself. And she feels at home. I receive its embrace aboard my floating house. And at the beginning of the song, she's saying, I am leaving this harbor, giving urban a farewell. So perhaps she's leaving the city life behind her, and she's headed out into the unknown, into the ocean, giving urban a farewell. I have lost my origin, and I don't want to find it again, whether sailing into nature's laws and be held by ocean's pause. Wonderlust, relentlessly craving. I also really enjoyed the incorporation of the trumpets on this track. It was reminding me of the steam engines on track number 1 towards the end. So I am getting that sense of being on a boat. Even the trumpets themselves, it's just reminding me of like the chaos of war or I don't know, some sort of conflict. I mean, I could just be talking out my ass right now, but that's just how this album is making me feel. It's how I'm interpreting the music and the lyrics. Now, Wonderlust was released as the 4th single from the album. Björk has described Wonderlust as being the heart of Volta, and has said that the song is about the state of looking for something and almost knowing you're never going to find it, and that it makes fun of her hunger for something new. Okay. She also says that things go in circles. Wonderlust, for example, is sort of a continuity of Hyper Ballad. So now we're gonna move on to track number 3, The Dull Flame of Desire.
I love your eyes, my dear.
When suddenly you raise them so.
But there's a charm that's greater still. I see the dull flame of desire.
I see the dull flame of desire.
I love your eyes.
I see the dull flame of desire.
Okay, that was track number 3, The Dull Flame of Desire. And this was another track where I enjoyed the production. It was very, I don't know, I can't really explain it. It was very patriotic. It was very cinematic. Just the instrumental of the song was very grand in scale, and I liked it. I know this might be a horrible comparison, but the production of the track reminds me of the instrumental you'd hear during a national anthem. It has that it just has that patriotic sound to it. Now she is saying how I love your eyes, my dear, and their splendid sparkly fire, when suddenly you raise them so to cast a swift embracing glance, like lightning flashing in the sky. But there's a charm that is greater still, when my love's eyes are lowered, when all is fired by passion's kiss. And through the downcast lashes, I see the dull flame of desire. Now, I do feel like the lyrics are a little self-explanatory. She's saying, I love your eyes, my dear. So she sees the passion in this person's eyes, and their kiss, and this person she's singing about also seems to enjoy her. But when this person looks away, or they look down, or perhaps when they're sleeping, she says here, and through the downcast lashes. So perhaps when their eyes are closed, she can still see the dull flame of desire. The desire isn't as strong when their eyes are opened and when they're looking at her, but when they're closed, she can still see the dull flame of desire. So I don't know, that's kind of what I got out of the song. The entirety of the lyrics to the song are an English translation of a Russian poem by, I'm gonna butcher their name. I'm not even going to attempt it because, I mean, okay. Fyodor Tyrchev. I butchered it. I know I butchered it. Please don't tell me that I butchered it, because I know I did. Okay. But I will say, we are 3 tracks into the album, and I don't really know what to make of it yet. I don't know if this will be one of my favorite Bjork albums. Obviously, I have to listen to the rest of the tracks, but so far, it's not one of my favorite Bjork albums. Just like most other Bjork albums, I absolutely adore the production on this album. It's definitely different. We haven't really heard a sound like this from Bjork before on any of her past albums. So I like that, but when it comes to the lyrics and the melodies and the stories of the lyrics, I'm not the biggest fan. But anyway, let's move on to track number 4, Innocence.
I wasn't confused, not at all. And then when I'm meeting the thrill of fear, where it can flourish, that thrill of fear.
Okay, that was track number 4, Innocence, and once again, this was a track where the production was really good, just like tracks 1 through 3. I do find myself focusing more on the production of the album. I just find it so fascinating to listen to, so I'm not really paying attention to the lyrics of these songs as much as I was in my other Björk videos. I once had no fears, none at all, and then when I had some, to my surprise, I grew to like both. Scared or brave, without them, the thrill of fear, thought, I never admit it. She was saying how once she was innocent and she was untouchable, and it still amazes her that she was once innocent, but it's still there, but in different places. But now she has the thrill of fear alongside the bits of innocence, and she welcomes it, and it gives her courage, and it's still there, but in different places. Fear is a powerful drug. Overcome it, and you think that you can do anything. So it's a very uplifting and positive message. I feel like she's saying how as we get older, year by year, we gradually lose that innocence of childhood and teenagehood and young adulthood, and we become more fearful, perhaps. But we still have that touch of innocence inside of us, and we just have to bring out the courage when we face adversity and peril. And if we carry that courage with us, then we can achieve anything and we can get through anything. So, I don't know, that's what I got out of the song. We are 4 tracks into the album, and in my personal opinion, I feel like this album isn't as complex as some of her prior albums. You don't really need to take a magnifying glass and be like, what did she say? And you don't have to really ponder over what she said. It's not like cryptic. I mean, it still kind of is, it's Björk, but it's just not as complex as some of her prior work, in my opinion. But anyway, let's move on to track number 5, I See Who You Are.
I see who you are. I will see the same girl, a same soul, passionate lover. Later this century, let's celebrate now. All is flesh on our bones.
Okay, that was track number 5, I See Who You Are, and this reminds me of Björk from the 90s. This reminds me of a classic Björk song from one of her prior albums. I liked it. I don't know what the instrument is being played in this song, but it was fascinating to listen to. I mean, I loved everything about this track. It's definitely one of my favorites from the album so far. I also love her singing on this track. So when it comes to her vocals and the instruments, just the overall production, I really enjoyed this track. It was just so peaceful sounding, and it just felt like I was floating compared to the other tracks on the album. This is definitely the most zen track on the album so far. It was just very peaceful, felt like I was on the cloud, and it was just very dreamy. I see who you are behind the skin and the muscles. I see who you are now. And when you get older later, I will see the same girl, the same soul, lioness, fireheart, passionate lover. And afterwards, later this century, when you and I have become corpses, let's celebrate now all this flesh on our bones. So what I'm thinking she's singing about in the song is how this person will always stay the same to her, even though their body will age with time. Obviously, as they get older, their skin will wrinkle, and their skin will become more thin, and their muscles will become thinner as well. Just their whole body will age, obviously, with time, but their soul will still stay the same. The same soul in their body. I will see the same girl. And their souls will also stay the same, even after their bodies have become corpses and they have finally died. So let's celebrate now. Let's celebrate life and the flesh and our bodies and our bones while we're still here. Now, people are saying that the song could be about her daughter. So enjoy every moment you have with someone, whether it be a child or a parent or a spouse, a sibling. Just spend enough time, as much time as possible with that person, because time doesn't stop for anyone. Everyone ages and everyone eventually dies. But what she's saying is that the soul of a person always stays the same, regardless of how much you age. And even after we die, our souls are still, I don't know, intact and in the world somewhere. I don't know what I'm saying at this point. I'm being all philosophical now. That's what Bjork does. She brings out my inner philosopher. It's also a comforting song, in my opinion, because yes, we all get older, we all mature, and our appearances change, but it's the soul that counts. It's the soul we love in someone, not the outward appearance. So it's just comforting to know that even though as you get older and your body changes, you might not like what you see, like what you did before when you were perhaps younger, but it's the soul that stays the same. It's the soul that people love. And I know it's a little cliche, inner beauty, it's the soul that counts. Nobody cares about the outward appearance. It's what's inside that counts, but it's true. But anyway, let's move on to track number 6, Vertebrae by Vertebrae. Oh my god. It's like Jaws. Do, do, do. And you can hear the waves. Okay, that was track number 6 of Vertebrae by Vertebrae. Now, I've heard of the word vertebrae before, but I actually forget what it means. It says here that the vertebrae is each of the series of small bones forming the backbone, having several projections for articulation and muscle attachment, and a hole through which the spinal cord passes. Can I just say that I would love to hear this album being composed in a concert hall, or I don't know, it just has that cinematic feel to it production-wise, and I've actually really enjoyed the overall sound of the album so far. When I was listening to the beginning of the song, it was reminding me of some sort of impending doom, like something we'd hear in a Steven Spielberg movie like Jaws, or like some sort of impending doom of like a creature approaching and not sure what's gonna happen. I was just getting that impression from the song. Up on the toe, there is a view, up on the toe, and the spine, straight and erect, hungry and curious. Up on the toe, looking forward, to the air is thinner here. She came here to lose face. Got down on her knees, the beast is back. On 4 legs, set her clock to the moon, raises her spine, vertebrae by vertebrae. I have no idea. This is the first time on this album where I actually don't know what she's singing about. Obviously, she's singing about vertebrae and an erect spine, the beast is back on 4 legs, but I don't actually know the story of what she's trying to sing about. My arms ooze out of my shoulders, and the arms ooze out of my shoulders. I curl my tail inwards. I set my clock on the moon. I don't know, maybe she's transforming into a werewolf. Yes, I went there. Don't laugh. Don't judge me. Actually, I don't care if you do. You know what? Maybe she is turning into a werewolf in this song. I mean, the lyrics allude to it. Let's be real. I am so excited to find out the actual meaning of this song. Yes, I'm not the only one. See, I am not the only one. Other people have said that, I don't know, she's being stalked by a werewolf. I don't know, some people are just saying werewolf, so I don't know, I'm not the only one, that's a relief. Some people have said that's also about transformation into a beast, so set my clock to the moon. Werewolf, moon, vertebrae by vertebrae. So I do feel like the song is about some sort of transformation, not necessarily into a werewolf. Obviously, that might be some sort of metaphor. I don't know. I'm just gonna say that I had a lot of fun listening to this track. So now we're gonna move on to track number 7, pneumonia. Okay, that was track number 7, Pneumonia, and this was, I feel like, I mean, I felt a little emotional listening to this track. And once again, we hear the sound of waves and the ocean, which has been reoccurring quite a bit on this album, which I don't mind because I love the sound of water. Honestly, this is one of those albums where I would gladly listen to it without any of the vocals or the singing. Even though I enjoy the vocals and singing on this album, I would gladly just listen to the instrumental on this album because it's so beautiful to listen to. Get over the sorrow, girl. The world is always going to be made of this. You can trust in it. Unless you breathe in bravely. I adore how you simply surrender to high. And your lungs, they're mourning, TB style. All the stillborn love that could have happened. All the moments you could have embraced. All the moments you should have not locked up. And then she goes on to say, understand so clearly, to shut yourself up would be the hugest crime of them all. Hugest crime of them all. You're just crying after all, to not want them humans around anymore. Get over that sorrow, girl. So it does seem to be like she is in pain. She is in sorrow, like stated in the song, and she's going through something very tragic in her life, it seems, and she just needs to get over it and move on. Get over that sorrow, girl. Get over it. Get over this heartache and just move on. She does seem to want to shut herself up away from the world, but she's also saying that she should do that because it's the hugest crime of them all to do that. So don't shut yourself away from the world. Just move on with your life and get over it. So I don't know what she could be singing about in the song. It's obviously very personal to her. She does say all the stillborn love that could have happened. So I don't know if that's more metaphorical or I don't know if she's actually talking about a stillborn birth. Now, obviously, pneumonia is an infection that inflames your lungs' air sacs. It causes a cough and fever, chills, trouble breathing. Now, I don't actually know the true story behind the song, but people are saying she wrote the song after seeing the movie Pan's Labyrinth. I really did enjoy the song, and I feel like it's one of the more emotional tracks on the album. But anyway, let's move on to track number 8, Hope.
Here's my vertebrae. version of it, internal whirlwind. What's the lesson if a suicide bomber made to look pregnant? All too evil. All dies in vain. Hopes, what's the lesson?
Okay, that was track number 8, Hope, and this was a pretty short track. She said, here's my vision of it. Eternal whirlwind. What's the lesser of two evils? If a suicide bomber made to look pregnant manages to kill her target or not, what's the lesser of two evils? If she kills them or dies in vain, nature has fixed no limits on our hopes. Oh, what's the lesser of two evils? If her bump was fake or if it was real, here's my version of it. Eternal whirlwind. This is another song where I don't really know what she's singing about. Obviously, it could be metaphorical. I mean, what's the lesser of two evils? If a suicide bomber made to look pregnant manages to kill her target or not, what's the lesser of two evils? Obviously, there's perhaps social commentary in this track. I don't know, I'm a little confused. I don't really know the essence of what she's singing about in this song. If her bump was fake or if it was real, what's the lesser of two evils? Now, someone did comment and say that if a suicide bomber succeeds by disguising herself as pregnant, her stomach was fake, and she got the job done. Is that evil? Or what if, out of fear, instead of making sure if she was pregnant or not, troops or others killed her to make sure she died in vain? Isn't that evil too? Now, what I think she could be singing about is what's the lesser of two evils? Pretending to look like you're pregnant as a suicide bomber, and perhaps alluding to how you would sacrifice an unborn child to carry out the act of being a suicide bomber. This suicide bomber, this woman could have been pregnant, and the troops who ended up shooting her down have to live with the guilt of shooting a woman who is pregnant. So not only do you kill a woman, you kill her unborn child. I don't know. I mean, the song does deal with sensitive subject matter, obviously. It is a thought-provoking song. I wasn't the biggest fan of the track as a whole. It's probably one of my least favorites on the album, but I liked trying to analyze the lyrics. So now we're going to move on to track number 9, Declare Independence.
Declare independence. Don't let them do that to you. Back your own currency. Make your own stamp. Independence. Don't let them do that to you. Make your own flag. Make your own flag. Raise your flag. Declare independence. Don't let them do that to you. Independence. Don't let them do that to you.
Okay, that was track number 9, Declare Independence, and this was a great song, honestly. I liked how aggressive her voice was on this track. I like the meaning behind the lyrics. I really enjoyed the lyrics on this track. Declare independence, don't let them do that to you. And then she goes on to say, start your own currency, make your own stamp, protect your language, declare independence, make your own flag, raise your flag, higher and higher. And then she goes on to say, damn colonists, ignore their patronizing, tear off their blindfolds, open their eyes, declare independence. So this is a very politically driven song, and I really also like the production as well. So as a whole, I like the song. Now it says Björk's dedication of the song to various independence causes at live performances of the song in Shanghai and Tokyo have caused controversy. Now people are saying that the song is basically dedicated to Greenland and the Faroe Islands as sort of an inspirational tune to individualize themselves from the Danish. I love the meaning behind the song. Anybody could honestly relate to it, not just standing up for yourself, it's standing up for your people, your land, your city, your country. It's standing up for your community, whether it be just a community, where you live, a town, a city, but also a community of your ethnicity, whether it be, I don't know, you're Chinese or you're African American, you're gay, just standing up for your people, standing up for your land and where you live, and not giving in to people who are trying to claim your land or people who are trying to take control of you, and just create your own flag, create your own independence, create your own currency, create your own everything. Just be your own independence. I do believe this is one of the strongest songs on the album, not just production-wise, but also lyrically. And it's honestly one of my favorite tracks, so 2 thumbs up. So now we're gonna move on to track number 10, My Juvenile. Now this is featuring Anthony Haggerty.
Down the corridor, down the staircase, I sent worms.
With the intentions were pure. With the intentions were pure.
My juvenile.
This is an offer to better the last let go.
My juvenile, juvenile, my juvenile.
Alrighty, that was track number 10, My Juvenile, featuring Anthony Haggerty. Now, this song does feature a male vocalist who is Anthony Haggerty, so I imagine he was also featured on the song The Dull Flame of Desire, track number 3. I didn't know who the male vocalist was in that song, but now I know. This is probably one of my least favorite tracks on the album. I honestly didn't really care for it, but I still enjoyed listening to it. I still liked the vocals and the production. Down the corridor, I said warmth. Down the staircase, I said warmth. Thank you for, again, to get to be able to send warmth. Perhaps I sent you too free, too fast, too young, but the intentions were pure. My juvenile, I truly say you are my biggest love. I clumsily try to free you from me. One last embrace, to tie a sacred ribbon. This is an offer to better the last. Let go, my juvenile. I don't really know what she's singing about, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm thinking maybe she's singing about her youth. So maybe she's now older and she's finally kind of letting go and freed herself from her youth. She loved who she used to be, perhaps. Her younger self. I clumsily try to free you from me. One last embrace. So, one last embrace to tie a sacred ribbon. This is an offer to better last let go. So now she's finally letting go of her youth. I don't know, she could be singing about that, but I definitely have to look into it. Now, some people are commenting that she is singing about her youth and her youthful spirit that she once had. So now that I kind of know the meaning behind the song, I actually enjoy it more. I kind of take back what I initially said, how I wasn't the biggest fan of this track. It's still not one of my favorites, but I like it more now after realizing the meaning behind the lyrics than I did initially when I was just listening to it. Now, Bjork did explain the song by saying, She sings to her two children, her daughter and her son. You sort of let go too much when you're 14, Björk said. And then suddenly, when you're 16, you behave again like you're 8. And then when you're 18, you think they can fly across the world on their own. And then when they're 20, you tell them off because they're wearing a dirty jacket. It's clumsy. Okay, so she's kind of alluding to obviously youth, but also watching her children grow up, her son and daughter. Now, when talking about Antony's part in the song, she explained that the backing vocals were sort of like Jiminy Cricket, and the main voice was sort of a Pinocchio. She explains, Jiminy Cricket is going, you know you did your best, don't worry about it. Okay. So she's also saying how she's watching her children grow up and they're going through these things. But there's also that reassurance of her knowing that she did her best. This is how I always feel at the end of one of these Björk videos. It's a lot. It's a lot to analyze and figure out, and I'm tired. Now, there is one more track on the album, track number 11. This is an extended remix of track number 1, Earth Intruders. And to be honest, I probably won't listen to it. I typically don't listen to remixes in these first listen videos. I typically skip over them. And I don't know if I have enough energy. I mean, like I said, I'm always exhausted after doing these Björk videos. It's always the Björk and Kate Bush videos. I'm always just exhausted afterwards. So you know what? I think I will listen to the extended Mark Spike stent mix of Earth Intruders off camera. But anyway, that is all 10 tracks of Volta by Björk. And I enjoyed this album. I don't know if this is one of my least favorite Björk albums or one of my favorites. You know what? It's definitely not one of my favorites. But I don't think it's one of my least favorites. I think maybe it would fall in the middle. I really don't know, but I do know a lot of Björk fans, just people in general I know don't really like this album. I think it's one of her lowest rated albums. But you know what? I was pleasantly surprised. Actually, I wasn't pleasantly surprised because it's Björk, so I knew I was going to enjoy the album regardless, and I did enjoy it. I really liked the production. It's much different than any other Björk album. I loved I loved the instruments. I liked the orchestra. I liked the trumpets. It's very cinematic. It was very grand, and I liked the earthy, organic sounds like the ocean and the waves and the seagulls and the steamboats, and it was very organic and also it was very chaotic at times. I was getting soldier vibes, war vibes, the trudging through mud and the twig snapping, and overall, I thought this was a strong album from Björk. It's just not one of her best, in my opinion. For me, the highlight of the album was the production and the instruments. It was just so sweeping and grand, and I would gladly listen to this album again. I would also gladly listen to it without the vocals and the lyrics, just the instrumental. I thought it was gorgeous. I also feel like the lyrics on this album aren't as complicated and complex as a lot of her other albums. I feel like I was able to really pick up on the meanings of the songs quite quickly. More so than her prior albums. The album was also politically driven in parts, in particular tracks number 9, Declare Independence, and I think there was another one. Oh yes, also track number 8, Hope, with the suicide bomber, the pregnant suicide bomber. Now the album was well received upon its release, though to a lesser extent than Björk's previous albums, which I can see that. Like I said already, it's not one of my favorite Björk albums, but I didn't dislike it. I don't think I've hated any of Björk's albums yet. I feel like she's a very consistent artist, and I've enjoyed all her music, all of her albums. This was no exception. I don't feel like it's as strong as her other albums. Now, one person who did leave a mixed review was from Pitchfork, and they stated that Volta is mostly proof that Björk is as fallible as the messy, unpredictable humanity she celebrates, and that even her definition of pop is avant-garde. So what did you guys think of the album? What are your impressions? Maybe you disliked this album a lot, or maybe you love it. Maybe this is one of your favorite Björk albums. Tell me why. What did you think of the sound, and what do you think of the lyrics and her vocals? What songs from this album are your favorites? So officially, I think that's all I wanted to say on the album. And in my next Björk video, we'll be moving on to her next album from 2011, her 7th studio album called Biophilia. So look out for that video, and thanks for watching, guys. You can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Twitter, you can message me, you can tell me other artists I should check out. I'm open to any artists from a decade. You can find me on Apple Music, you can check out my playlist, and so on and so forth. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. I'm gonna go pass out on my couch. Have a wonderful day. Oh, I just spit there. Okay. Bye.